Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? CoinOpTV subscribers, Robert Werkner here, your host of CoinOpTV live and interactive on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoinOpTV. Today, we're going to be talking about the brand new Marvel movie, Doctor Strange, which for some of you guys are overseas, that came out a few days ago, I think in UK, but in America here, the US of A, we're getting it tomorrow, Friday, but me and my buddy Chris actually got to see it a little early, so we want to do a little bit of a review for you. We don't plan on spoiling it. If you guys are in chat, try not to spoil things. Let me introduce my co-host today is Chris from Nerd Reactor. Good to see you, sir. How are you?
Pretty good. Looking forward to talking about this subject.
Yes. Chris lives in LA. I see him at a lot of events. He's a senior editor over at Nerd Reactor. They do lots of news on gaming and movies. And a nerd. You guys react to nerdy things. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, that's the best way to put it, actually.
We got some people jumping in chat. We got Jesse, Henry, Toy Movie Game Bros, Spider Gamer, and Bio, and a few others. Again, we are live streaming. If you have questions, concerns, holler at us in chat. If you guys watch this on the archive, leave your questions in the comments below, or what you thought of Doctor Strange, if you liked it or not, in the comments below. So let me get the graphic up here. So Doctor Strange, first appearance, Strange Tales 110, created by Steve Ditko. For me, Doctor Strange has been sort of like this side character, kind of this offbeat character that sort of pops up in the Marvel comics from time to time. I haven't read any recent comics in like the last 5 or 6 years, but when I grew up and I was reading comics a lot, it was always like, oh, we don't know what to do, we're in trouble, let's get Doctor Strange in here, he'd sort of help out. I used to read some of the Defenders, and I remember he was sort of in the Defenders and stuff like that. It was like magic and mystical. What about Chris? What about with you? Where do you stand? What kind of how deep into Marvel Comics do you go, and your knowledge of Doctor Strange prior to seeing the movie?
I've always been an off and on Doctor Strange fan. Back when he first appeared, I read a lot of the comics thanks to like a bunch of my friends who had them. Like you said, the Defenders, fought a lot of his action with Dormammu, all that stuff. So I won't say I was hardcore, but I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. We got a few more people jumping in chat. Chris and a couple others jumping in there. So Chris and I actually saw it yesterday at the IMAX theater in Los Angeles in 3D. Glasses on our head. We were in IMAX. We were in probably the third or fourth row. We were pretty close to the screen, and it's tough. It's tough to watch IMAX in 3D, very close to the screen. It's just the place was packed. So I heard you groan right there. So are you a fan of IMAX 3D at all, Chris?
I am a fan of IMAX 3D, actually. I like a lot of different movies that way, but this is not a movie you should watch in IMAX 3D.
It is. It's a tough one because there's a lot. If you've seen the trailer, there's a lot of stuff going on. Little places in the background moving around, people flipping upside down, magic and stuff. A lot of foreground, background stuff. So yeah, there was a hindrance watching it in 3D and IMAX, stuff like that. So I would say maybe go with the 2D unless maybe you're further back from the thing there. Do you have a favorite movie that you ever saw in 3D, or one that you sort of remember offhand?
Something I've seen off 3D.
Just see were you part of the Avatar, movement?
Yeah, there we go, the Avatar.
I liked. I'm okay with like animated movies, like The Croods, Toy Story 3, stuff like that in 3D. Like the animated movies are okay with me. So
I don't mind them at all. Sorry, I don't mind them at all. But the problem with this one, it was a visual overload. That was my problem with this movie. It was good for like the first like 30 minutes, last 30 minutes. It was just in between. It just got a sensory overload.
All right, so let's talk about our opinions. But besides the fact that we saw it in 3D and IMAX, stuff like that. So Chris, you're sort of saying that you enjoyed what 2/3 of Doctor Strange? Was that what I'm gathering here?
No, I actually enjoyed all the movie. It's just that one 3D part I just started getting dizzy. The movie overall I enjoyed.
Okay. It's getting a lot of praise. I was looking at Variety today, and they put it on. They did a countdown of their top like 14 Marvel movies, and they put Doctor Strange, I think, at number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy at number 1. A lot of other sites are putting Doctor Strange as like their favorite Marvel movie of all time. Where would you say? I'm assuming is it safe to assume you've seen all Marvel movies? The
Yes.
MCUs. Okay. Do you have an idea? Is this in like your top 5, top 3 with Doctor Strange?
Top 4.
Top four, okay. Do you know your top four offhand? If I was to say, give me your top four.
Off the top of my head, it would have to be Civil War. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Guardians of the Galaxies. Then I'd probably have to say Doctor Strange would be 3 and 4. I'd be fighting for that spot.
Okay. Yeah, I think Doctor Strange might be my top five. For me, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, like those a lot. Yeah, Doctor Strange. So we're both in agreement that we both seem to have enjoyed Doctor Strange a lot. Let me get some cast pictures here. So let's talk about the cast. We got Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Stephen Strange, Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that right. Rachel McAdams as Christine Palmer. Benedict Wong as Wong. We got a little chuckle during the credits for that one. Mads Mikkelsen as Caecilius. Do you remember how they pronounce the villain's name?
Caecilius.
Okay, there you go. So and here's some cast photos. Now, what I got some cast photos from some of the premieres overseas and stuff like that, so that's what I'm kind of showing. I'm trying to mix it up a bit there to show you guys some of the images. So alright, so let's start off with Mr. Cumberbatch there. I would have to say I don't watch Sherlock Holmes. Some of the movies I've seen him in, he's never really blown me away, but like people are sort of saying, or maybe they're not saying, kind of born to play this role. He has the look, he has the feel for it. Chris, are you a Benedict fan at all?
No, I'm not. I'm not a huge fan of Benedict Cumberbatch, but I thought he did a really good job in this film. I didn't like him in Star Trek, the last one.
Yeah, his interpretation of Khan.
Yeah, I like that too much. I do like his performance in Sherlock, the episodes stuff I've seen, but as Doctor Strange, he was good.
Yeah, so we agree on that. How about, are you a fan of Rachel McAdams at all?
Don't know too much about her.
She's a movie actress. How about...
I've seen her, but I just haven't really followed her.
Oh, I neglected, when I was reading off some of the credits, I neglected to mention, of course, Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One. She kind of reminded me of like her turn in Narnia, real cold, mystical, magical kind of creature. Chris, are you a Tilda fan at all?
Yeah.
How do you think she did? She had, of course, the no hair on her head. She was kind of mystical, knew the magic.
She didn't have a prominent role throughout the movie, and that's something she has in the comic books. So it was a little different, I guess you can say.
Alrighty. And, it's the first time I think I've seen anything from the director, Scott Derrickson. I think he's done some horror movies and some... Seems like his IMDb is kind of like B movies in general, but now he's moving up the ranks to Doctor Strange in the MCU. Have you seen any of Scott's movies at all?
Mm-mm. I have to admit, I have not.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that The Day the Earth Stood Still was one of his with Keanu, and I know a lot of people sort of thought that was terrible. Toy Movie Game Bros in chat says IMAX was good. And Jesse says, I have a little black box. It's called Kaleidocone. It allows me to watch any movies in the theaters. I don't know if that's a joke or phrase or what. So let me show some sort of stuff here. This is some behind the scenes footage here, courtesy of Marvel and Disney. So, all right. So, let's talk a little bit more about our impressions. Did you like the way they sort of set up, Stephen Strange? We got sort of this really egotistical surgeon who had to kind of, learn a hard lesson in life, shall we say?
So watching Iron Man 1 again is what you mean?
Yes. It did remind me of some Tony Stark and some Iron Man 1. Definitely some similarities here. In this video we're watching right now, we're seeing some Mads, who is the villain, doing some of the stuff there. What'd you think of Mads as the villain? Are you a fan of Hannibal at all?
Okay, so I like the setup they had for the movie. The whole, I don't want to spoil, obviously, going into anything, but I did like the way they were setting it up to the final villain. I just didn't feel that we really got a good villain leading up to that. That was my only issue with that movie. It was all focused on Strange's origin story, which is good, but we didn't have a real bad guy in the MCU for Strange.
Yeah, it's usually when people ask me, hey, what makes a good movie, or good superhero movies, they usually say the first answer is a good villain or a good opponent. And while Mads, who was intense and magical and had his own thing. Maybe because he only was in the movie from time to time. We never really got like any beats or moments with him and his little group, by themselves. Like, actually my buddy Mike I saw this with, he was like, yeah, I kind of feel like we need a little 10-minute like flashback scene to sort of show him maybe training, when he was a younger student or something. Is that the kind of thing you're looking for? Maybe a little more chiseling out of his backstory?
The same thing I felt about Civil War, but yeah, same concept.
Yeah, well, Civil War, that's the big question. Who is the bad guy? Was there really a bad guy, or was it just supposed to be the heroes fighting each other with Civil War, right?
We had the overall bad guy, but it just didn't set up an actual villain for a reason they're doing all this stuff.
Yes. So what'd you think of some of the special effects? I mean, I know we were watching it in 3D and IMAX, a lot of stuff was in our face, but we had kind of that inception with the backgrounds and the buildings all moving and taking shape, and then in the foreground we had a lot of the it was like Harry Potter drawing or something. It kind of reminded me of like when we go to these little VR demos and stuff. There's like a VR game where you have to be a magician and you kind of draw on the screen. I forgot what that was called. But so what'd you think of some of like the special effects and stuff like that?
I'm a bit indifferent. I enjoyed it. I thought sometimes it was a little too much. It had some things that didn't need to be there. But overall, the magic, the concept, the cape, I thought was a great part of the movies.
Yes, the cloak of levitation almost stole the show in a lot of ways. When that came out, now when I'd seen some trailers with the cape, I thought, oh man, the cape's going to be jokey, it's going to be corny, it's going to be like the Blob or like the Sidekick or something like that, but it turned out to be okay. We're actually seeing some video here now with the cape on Doctor Strange. I like the material, like the reds, like it wasn't too red, it wasn't like sometimes you see like a movie, I'm wearing my red shirt here, and like sometimes things are too red, and it looks like really cartoony. So, was there anything else about sort of his powers or his look or anything? Did you like when he, really donned the the beard and kind of the look of things? I mean, these are all things we've seen in the trailer.
I kind of liked him with a full-on beard. That looked kind of cool, but then when he shaves it off and has the Doctor Strange look, I thought it was great. Especially he looked the part. If you compare it to a comic book, it's hard to tell because he does it so well.
Yeah, I'm showing the image here. If you're looking at this, I mean, that would almost look like, a variant cover to, Doctor Strange origin story or something like that would be, I would take it at. So they did a really good look. Of course, in this photo, we're seeing the Eye of Agamotto. What's your take on that? I don't want to spoil things, but, there was sort of maybe some lore changes or some different things with that. Do you like the way they sort of use that as a thing in the movie?
The one thing we've had to get used to is they're going to change things to fit how the MCU is working. So it wasn't done in a bad way where it just kind of changed everything over as we've seen with Fox movies or certain Sony pictures. So I was fine with it, especially since it's going to lead into the Infinity Wars down the line.
Yeah, it was nice, and I like the way that there was like a change. Like magic had sort of different colors to it. Here's some stuff with the director doing some playback with Benedict here, and it's interesting to see sort of a fight scene. Like it's interesting to see a movie first and then watch some behind the scenes stuff of how they're kind of doing things. I like that there are a lot of practical things in the city here, and but yeah, I like the way that the magic was. Sometimes it was red, and then sometimes it was different colors to sort of state like what type of magic it was, sort of thing. I don't know. Does Harry Potter do that? Do different people have like different color magic and stuff? Is that a thing?
I can tell you I have not watched the Harry Potter movies in a long time, so I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's been a while. Are you planning on seeing Fantastic Beasts? Is that on your list?
It's on my list. It's something I'm going to watch.
All right.
But I'm going to have to rewatch all the movies first.
Yeah.
Just to get back into it.
My buddy challenged me. He was like, what you need to do is you need to not only rewatch the movies, but read the books and reread the books and stuff like that again. And I was like, wow, that's a big commitment here. I'm trying to run a website. So let's see here. So what else are we missing? We're actually seeing some cool wire work with Tilda as the Ancient One. What'd you think? There was a lot of fist fighting and wire work and action. Was that convincing? Were you sold?
I was sold. The battle scenes, the magic scenes, the action scenes were all really good. I had no complaints with any of that.
Daniel in chat simply said hype, and so there you go. What do you think? You think people are going to see? Are people going to see Doctor Strange? Because I got to be honest, Disney, they sent this to us, early preview screening for free, and I wanted to see it, but the trailers don't really sell the movie to me, and I've been trying to fish around and ask people hey, are you excited? Do you want to see it from the trailers? What was sort of your impression, Chris, going in? Did you watch any of the trailers? Were you hyped prior, or were you kind of skeptical?
I was actually not impressed by the trailers, like you mentioned, but it's knowing the comic books and seeing how, let's say, Guardian of the Galaxies, nobody expected it to be as good as it was from the trailers. And look how that's one of their top movies?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, definitely.
Yeah, so Doctor Strange, it's you can't compare it to Captain America, Iron Man. It's its own little story because it focuses on the supernatural, the magic. And you can't really capture that in a trailer other than the scene where you just see Strange being knocked out of his body. And, that's only 1 second of that small scene that you're going to see in the movie. So it's hard to capture that, and I think they really did a good job bringing this movie to life.
So what would you say for these comic book movies? Sometimes people are I don't want to go see that. That's a comic book movie. Is this for everybody, or do you have to be a Doctor Strange fan? Do you have to be a comic book fan? Do you have to be into magic? Is there a certain group of people that this movie is specifically for?
It's hard to say because all of these movies aren't made just for comic book fans. They're made for everybody. So you're going to have the comic book fans who get mad that, they changed this, they changed that out of the comic books. And they do that so they can bring in different audiences. So right now, even though we can't say that exactly same as before, we're setting up for a gigantic universe of every MCU coming together and fighting, the ultimate bad guy, who we all know is going to be Thanos.
Yes, Thanos there coming down the wire with the future movies, double pack there with the Avengers movies and maybe in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's the next one coming up. Is Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is next year, right?
Yeah.
The May or June or whenever it is. Okay, so I would say that that the movie does a good enough job introducing all the different elements, in the characters and stuff, that I don't think you need to be a hardcore comic person. I don't think you have to know anything about Doctor Strange at all, because it really kind of laid the groundwork for things. And if you were getting a little caught up in the movie with the magic, they still kind of grounded it and brought a lot of it back to the hospital and the Rachel McAdams character to sort of ground things a bit, so it didn't seem too spacey, except for maybe at the end there when things just got a little Ghostbustery at the end there. That's the only thing. I was just wow, it's like Ghostbusters here at the end.
It does a good job of going back and forth, especially you get to see Strange actually kind of become more of a regular person than what he used to be, so he learns.
Yes, there's definitely a lesson to be learned here, much like we were joking in the beginning about Iron Man and even Captain America. I mean, it seems like all the Marvel characters, that's kind of a thing. The Incredible Hulk, they have to kind of learn to what they think is one thing, it doesn't turn out to be another, and I think it kind of parallels a little bit of almost entertainment and showbiz. Also, we've got the Mel Gibson movie opening up also this month as well, and I know that's a person that was really on top of his game that sort of fell from grace, and now a lot of us are waiting to see, will he be able to pick himself up? So Doctor Strange kind of has I'm not saying like Mel Gibson, but parallels to real world things. Who's another person we've been watching have a comeback? Anybody else? Is Kanye fallen far enough from grace yet that needs a comeback, or anybody else you can think of off the top of your head?
I'm just gonna say, when does Kanye need to come back? When he's got his wife?
Yes, he does. I guess he hasn't really fallen yet. Sabina in chat says, "Can you give me a shout out?" Jackman says, "Can you dab?" There's a lot, we got the young crowd watching. They always want to see some dabbing. You guys are out of date. The dab's been retired officially, so you're a little late on that. Okay, so Chris, thanks a bunch for joining me, talking about some Doctor Strange. Movie was fun. Anything else you want to, period or anything like that, explanation you want to put on that?
No, it's a solid movie. Simple as that. You're going to get something different compared to what you've seen from the previous Marvel Cinematic movies, especially since this focuses more on magic, which, yeah, they've done that in Thor. You get like the supernatural, but this one actually focuses and brings it into the real world, I guess you can say, because up to now the only thing they've dealt with is Loki. So it's a nice little change.
Yeah, definitely. Like Chris was saying, we definitely get a lot of magic, supernatural, surreal kind of things, some mysticism, mythology. There's it kind of opens the door to it kind of opens the Marvel MCU universe into like a different path, whereas a lot of the superheroes were kind of similar kind of. I mean, they all had their own superpowers and stuff like that, but they were kind of on Earth, whereas Thor was Asgard. This kind of opens up kind of this other dimension, shall we say. It's hard, Chris, I'm finding it hard to talk and not give spoilers at all, so apologies if you guys are watching this. So make sure you check out Nerd Reactor. Chris is the senior editor-in-chief over there at www.nerdreactor.com. They got their YouTube channel. I'll put that information in the description below so you can click on it from this video on the archive. Thanks a bunch, all you guys and girls watching us talk Doctor Strange. I hope you go see it. I enjoyed it. And I look forward to seeing what you guys think. Maybe let us know after you see it in the comments below for CoinOpTV. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.